we want to welcome you to our Slyngrose Hat knit along, and to, excuse me while I admit people, and to just tell you how happy we are that you're here and that you've joined us to knit on such a beautiful day. I don't really think we have a lot of housekeeping to take care of. We'll open it up for questions, of course, later on. But, well, first of all, raise your hands. How many of you have started the hat? Carla? So nobody else. So that's cool. We can actually have a real cast-on party. Okay. All right. Very cool.
No pressure, anyone. And Carla, I know Carla.
Okay.
Just, you know, wanted a little bit of a head start.
Never follow instructions.
No worries.
Yeah, and no instructions. And I know Carla also went off the usual and knit it with a different kind of yarn. So I'm looking forward to finding out what kind of yarn Carla used, or what it looks like and how it looks. Anyway, welcome. I'm Pamela Fletcher, and I am the Dizzy Knitter. And I am so happy that Josie has agreed to partner with me and to do these knit-alongs. She is the knitter coach in chief of KnitChats. And KnitChats is an online knitting help line that if you have a question and you need any help, you call Josie and her team and they will walk you through any problem that you might have. So I can have Josie tell you more about that whenever she wants to, but I'm introducing now Josie. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I am Josie Flores, and I am the Chief Knitting Coach at KnitChats. And as Pamela mentioned, we have a knitting helpline. We deliver our service through an app called Slack. Maybe some of you are familiar. But anyway, we have an active growing community over there as well. There is a free component. So if you want to just participate as just an open community member, we have a lot of things going on and a lot of fun conversation happening. So I'm so excited. The Slyngrose hat. Thank you all so much for joining. I think, have you all had a chance to look at the pattern? We can just review it real quick. I know some of you have, I'm sure you've looked at it, but let's take a quick review of the pattern, and then if you all have your materials, just feel free to follow along. It's very casual, so I'm going to just cast on along with you. The cast on is a suggested. The cast on is a suggested tubular cast on, which I recommend, and I'll show you an example of what it looks like. If you don't think it's for you after we go through it all, then no problem. You can just use a regular cast on, in which case I would recommend maybe, you know, a nice loose long tail cast on, or even a cable cast on, which has some elasticity. Okay, so let me just switch my camera and we'll just take a look at the pattern construction. And then we'll go right into the tubular cast on. Okay, I'm going to switch my camera.
Carla, let's see what you have. Ooh, very nice. Whoops, let me unmute you.
There we go. I'm about halfway, just over halfway through the
brim.
The brim, and I did do a tubular cast on after watching a bunch of videos. So I'm really want to give Josie the floor here and see what she did. But The color is beautiful, by the way. It's like a mustardy gold. And unfortunately, my sister's already coveting it. So this is probably going to go off the needles like the last one, by the way. That's what happened.
I don't know. I don't have very much of that yarn left. So you might.
I love it. It's, well, we can plug it later. Very nice to work with. Very soft. So
excellent.
See what the
Excellent.
like when we're done.
Very nice. And everyone else, what is your color? What color of did you all get Laura? And what colors did you get of the Laura? You just hold it up to the camera.
Maybe.
It looks like a gray or blue or gray. Yeah, I really like that gray. Yeah. Oh, and the ecru. Gosh, I just love all the colors.
Special delivery.
Oh, that's right, Janice.
Hi, Pamela.
I was all out of pink, and Janice says, "Is there any chance you have any more pink?" And I says, "Well, I'll go look." And so I started digging through my little personal stash, and I found two little poor sad.
Thank you. Oh, they're sad. I'm happy.
Oh, good. No, they didn't look too bad, and I'm really happy that. Yeah,
So sweet of you.
That's the pink. I think Josie's knitting with the pink today.
Yes, and I'll show that one because I did cast on that.
Okay. Are you ready, Josie? I don't want to.
Yeah. So everyone, we can just take a quick look at the pattern, which I'm sure you have. I went ahead and cast it on since I am going to do the tubular cast on. I did cast on the smaller size. So the materials you all have, they suggest a US 4, which is for the ribbing, and then the US 6, which is for the lace body section, and the remaining part of the hat. The gauge is listed, and the gauge is not as critical, in my opinion, for the hat. You can just I would just start off with the US 4, and if you like the fabric it's creating, then I say go with it, and then you would just begin your lace with the US 6. And if you think if it's looking too loose, then you just want to go down a needle size, and if it's looking too too tight, then just go up a needle size. I think there's some, it's forgiving in a hat.
Josie, are they going to need a length of yarn to start with?
Yes, if you're going to do the tubular cast on, then yes, you will need the waste yarn. So if you have that, that would be great. You're only going to do, in this particular tubular cast on method, you don't need like this huge amount of waste yarn. You're only going to do the very first setup row with the waste yarn, and then you will switch to row 1 using your yarn that you're using for the hat. So okay, so here is the tubular cast on, and then just quickly the next part of the pattern, after you do your ribbing for like 7 inches or 18 centimeters, we'll go right into the lace. And then once the lace section is finished, you're going to do simple decreasing at the top. So it's not like you're going to be doing the lace and decreasing the lace up into the crown. So it's a pretty straightforward hat, I think. And even if this is your first time with lace, this is a great, easy lace pattern. Okay, everybody, does anyone have any questions so far? You can either just shout them out or put them into chat. Oh, I think I see Ursula.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, it asked, well, I'm looking at the gauge because I like to do a little swatch, and it didn't say what stitch you would use to determine your gauge. do you use the ribbing or do you use the stockinette stitch or?
That is a great question. You're right. So she does indicate here, the designer, she does indicate that the gauge should be in pattern.
So that would be the ribbing or the lace?
That would be the lace.
Okay.
So let's see, you know what? I do not have the lace, any of the lace knitted yet. I was going to do that, start that today. But what you would do is, yeah, you would, you could do a little swatch of the lace. And in this case, you know, this is a lace repeat of 12 stitches. So Ursula, if you wanted to say cast on maybe, you know, 26 stitches so that you've got one selvage edge on each side and then enough stitches for 2 repeats to measure, you might want to do that. And that would be great. Okay. Although I will have to say that to get a more specific gauge, a more accurate gauge, you should do your swatch in the round. There are lots of video tutorials out there on how to do a gauge swatch in the round, you know, without having to cast on the full pattern. And you know what, I don't have any offhand, otherwise I'd link to those videos. But
see
maybe
if I can find one, Josie.
Yeah, you know, Pamela, the one I'm thinking of, it's where you're knitting on, you know, you're just doing a swatch and then you bring the yarn across the back.
Right. You kind of switch to the other end of the needle.
Yes, exactly. So if you're going to do a swatch, yes, I'd recommend you do it in the lace pattern, and 2, do it in the technique where you can use your circular needles. Okay, let's see. Maxine, I see your hand up. How can we help you today? Do you have a question?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're welcome. Is that Ursula? Maxine, you had your hand up. Did you put yours in chat? Or you're welcome to just...
She put in the chat that she doesn't have any sound.
Oh. Okay, hold on. I'll respond to her. I'm pretty sure that's on her end. Let me get...
Okay. Okay, so why don't I move on so we can at least get to the cast on and we can get everyone started. So you will choose whichever size you want to do. The first size is for a small to medium, which is a head circumference of 52 to 56 centimeters. The next size offered is the large to extra large, or 56 to 60 centimeter circumference. So I'm doing the small. If you're doing the second size, that's great too. Let's just, you'll see I marked here on my pattern. This tubular cast on happens over the course of 5 rows and rounds. So we're going to start by using your waste yarn. I've gone ahead and just cast it on. I'm just going to do a swatch sample for you guys as we go along. But you want to choose, if you're using, let me pull mine, this Laura yarn, which is so yummy and it is fuzzy. So I chose a 100% cotton, which is a nice smooth fiber to use as my waste yarn. And so if you're using this fuzzy yarn, I would recommend that. Anytime you're using wool, actually, it's nice to use scrap yarn that's cotton because it's smooth. You don't want to use a fuzzy yarn like this for your scrap yarn because it'll just be difficult to take out this scrap yarn at the end. Oh, and I'd like to show you. So a tubular cast on, I have this little swatch here, makes this beautiful rounded edge. And it just sort of, you know, flows from the front, kind of seamlessly to the back. It's a very, it's just a very pretty edge, and it's really super stretchy. So it's great for the 1x1 rib. Okay, so if you guys have your pattern, I'm going to remove this, but we're going to go through each of these rows. Again, it's 5 rows and rounds. We're going to start off knitting flat, and then we're going to join in the round and finish off that tubular cast on with the 3 rounds. These should be rounds, really, not rows.
Josie, Carl is asking, what method did you use to get the waste yarn on the needle? Was it a provisional or a long tail?
I went ahead and just did a long tail cast on. You certainly can use a provisional because basically you just need the scrap yarn to hold, you know, hold stitches to start off. With the provisional cast on, the idea is to take off the scrap yarn to then use, to keep those, you know, which holds those live stitches, and you'll return to them later. You're not really going to return to these stitches later. So it's just really a method of holding these stitches while you are working this technique. Anyway, it's a good technique. There's so many ways to do a tubular cast on, and they go by very, you know, all kinds of different names. The Italian tubular cast on, I believe, is one. An invisible cast on is also the way it's called, and they're all slightly different techniques. I actually really like the method that this designer describes here. So, okay, so let's start. So everybody go ahead and grab your scrap yarn. I went ahead and just sort of cast it on already. What you do for the tubular cast on here, you'll notice she does say cast on 55 or 61, even though we're going to we'll end up with a total of 108 or 120 stitches. Anytime you do a tubular cast on in this method, you're going to cast on half the amount of stitches, and that's if you have an even number. If you have an odd number of stitches that you need to have ultimately, then you're going to cast on half the number plus 1. Okay. Oops. All right, everybody. So go ahead and cast on. I'm going to just keep knitting. And, you know, we'll follow this instruction. So I've gone ahead and casted on my stitches. Now I'm going to move to row 1.
Does anybody have any questions? Do they want a little time to finish up, or is everybody good to keep going? Good to keep going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry, Josie.
No, that's great. Yeah, everyone feel free to just keep knitting. We will make this, since we're recording it, you'll get to see, you know, you'll get to see it in a few days if you need to go back and check anything special. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead. So after that first row you cast on with your scrap yarn, you'll then use your yarn, the yarn for your hat, and we're going to go to row 1 and purl all the stitches in that row. nothing special. We're just going to add that new yarn. I am an English style knitter by default. I can certainly do continental if anybody needs to see it that way, but I'm planning to just demonstrate in English today.
Is that because you learned that way, that you just
Yeah, it's just most comfortable for me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that's how I learned, and so yeah.
Yes, and I taught myself continental. I just sometimes, you know, as I've gotten older, my hands, I get, you know, I have some issues with my hands if I've been knitting so much, and so I'll switch it up and go to continental. And I'm glad I can also knit that way, so that I'm not totally sidelined.
Yeah. Oh, Alexis is a continental knitter, so.
Just going to adjust a little bit here.
Sorry, Josie, I have a question.
Yes.
With your scrap yarn, you actually cast it on just half of the 55, like 27 stitches? Is that what you did with your?
Yes. So for me, no, I'm just doing a little swatch. How many did I cast on for my swatch?
Oh, okay, because I was thinking if I started without doing a swatch, would I use the scrap yarn and only cast on half, or the 55 stitches?
You would cast on the 55 if you're doing that small size.
Okay.
Yeah, I would, you know, it's not that many. I would suggest you go ahead and do that now.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry personally about a gauge on this at all.
Yeah.
Are you a tight knitter, Ursula?
I am a tight knitter, but it's okay. I will, you know, use the small size and then give it to my granddaughter if it doesn't.
Right.
But I appreciate not having to do a swatch to determine the gauge, because I'm not a big fan of them anyway. I just like to leap right in.
Yeah. And this is one that you can. I would encourage you to be as loose as you can, because I've personally knit this, had a couple of times, and have seen others who've knit it several times, and the more loosely and relaxed that the hat is knit, the more it just sort of blooms and looks a little more lush, if you will. It's interesting how they do turn out differently if you know, if you have different tension. So I don't know, what do you think, Josie? That was just sort of my observation.
I'm sorry, Pamela. What was that?
I'm sorry, you were counting.
Yes. So was it regards to tension?
Yeah, I've seen it knit by others, and I've knit it myself a couple of times, and I'm a little bit of a looser knitter by nature anyway. I think I'm pretty average, but maybe tend toward being looser. And I thought the ones that were knit a little looser looked better than the ones that someone else knit with a tight gauge.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, we all pretty much know that. I'm assuming all of you have knitted for a little while, so we kind of already know what our tendency is. Over the year, I used to be a tight knitter, but over the years I've really loosened up, and so yeah, depending on the yarn and the needles, I kind of know what to start with. And I tend to be real loose with lace, so I'm going to go ahead and use a 6 as it's suggested, but I'll kind of see how it goes, starting with the 6, and I think it's too loose, then I'll go down to a 5.
But you're casting on with a 4 though, right?
I am, and because I'm demonstrating on this just a regular wool yarn, I'm just using what's suggested in the pattern. This fuzzy yarn, I have to say, you know, it's kind of all over the place. So for me, I did do this with a 4. I have to say, I love this yarn. It was a little sticky, although on the needles, right? And it's beautiful, but the stickiness can cause your tension to kind of be tweaked. And I thought, okay, well, let me still work on the 4, and I liked it. So I think it was slightly tighter, my gauge, but I like it. I like the ribbing to be a little snug, and I like it.
Yeah,
So,
I agree 100%. I can't, hats that where the ribbing is kind of blown out, just, yeah, they aren't as attractive and they don't fit as well.
right. Okay, everyone, I've just purled all stitches in that next row. So now I'm turning my work, because we're knitting flat. Remember, we're knitting all these stitches flat for these first 2 rows. So now I'm just going to go to row 2, and the instruction is knit 1, and then insert your left needle tip from front to back under the running thread between the stitches, and purl this stitch is what she says. So let's do that. So this is where we're going to increase our stitch count, because we're going to be making one in between each stitch. And it does get a little tricky here, so you're going to have to go kind of slow. So I knitted the first stitch, and then you're going to have to dip into this lateral thread that runs between the stitches. And see, it's this little thread right there. So we're going to go front to back. You're going to dip down and pick that up. And hopefully you've got your scrap yarn is in a color that's contrasted enough that you can see that. So I'll do it again. So knitted that first one, and then you just sort of twist it around here. There's that thread that runs between the 2 stitches. So we're going to go front to back, pick that up, okay, and she wants us to purl this stitch. There are others where actually where you will do this differently, but in this case it's going to be a purl. So we're going to bring our yarn to the front and purl that stitch. Okay, knit the next stitch, and then here's that thread that runs between each stitch. We're going to dip down, get it, and we're going to purl. So you're going to need to bring your yarn forward each time for that purl. Can everybody see that thread between? So, you know, you'll see it. You'll see it hopefully as you're knitting it, but go real slow. So I'll just keep going, and you guys let me or Pamela know if you have any questions about this. And we're going to do this until the last 2 stitches.
Before you're done, Josie, Alexis was wondering if you could do a stitch or two in Continental.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay, so let me do that. So let's see. Hope my hands cooperate today. Okay, so let's see. I've just did the make one in between. Okay, so now we're going to knit one. I'm going to dip down, and then you know that comes to the front for the purl. Wait, hold on. There we go. Oops.
I'm sorry, we got you going in one way and now.
Oh, that's okay. I know I have to get I haven't practiced with Continental in a while, but that's okay. I can do this. Thank you, Alexis. I'm happy to. All right, so we'll dip down in there, and then that yarn comes forward naturally. And then I do that. There we go. My tension, I'm noticing, is tighter as I'm doing Continental. Okay, yarn back for knit. Okay, trying to stay in camera.
Oh, can you mute?
Okay, Alexis, I hope that was good. I'm going to try to cruise now through the rest of the row by switching back.
Okay, she says thank you.
Oh, you are most welcome, Alexis. Okay. Did I do that? Make one? Yep. Okay. I know this, you guys, this is going to be the hardest row of the whole sequence, honestly. So
if you make it through this, you're home free.
Then you are home free for sure. Okay, did I knit? Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? Or does this make sense to everybody? Or, yeah, cool. You know, I always say there's really nothing in knitting that's hard. It's just a matter of, you know, if you kind of just learn how to do it, it's, I don't know.
Well, I'm sorry, I have another question. What is the purpose of the waste yarn again? Perhaps that was discussed earlier and I didn't quite understand it. But the waste yarn is just to anchor the
So yes, it is an excellent question. So it just basically holds these stitches in place. And I'm going to unravel the waste yarn in my fuzzy hat, and we can see that. We can see what it does. It's just basically holding these stitches in place as you're creating that rounded edge.
I swear, the first time I did this, it was like magic.
It is like magic, and you're like, okay, how did that happen?
Yeah, I still have no idea how it works.
You're basically knitting a little tube. So it's really kind of interesting if you just deconstruct the whole thing, which
yeah, it's like you have.
It's amazing.
It's like this is the center of the brim, and it's like the stitches just form just like that down. It's just amazing.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan. You know you're a knitting nerd when little things like that just make your little heart sing.
Yes.
One step at a time. Alexis says, I always thought the tubular cast on would be harder than this.
I know, it is. It's deceiving. It's the
Carla
way I used to think about cables back in the day when I was first learning. I'm like, no way. I mean, I waited the longest time to learn how to do a cable. And then when I did, it was like, that's it? That's all that there is to it?
So
Josie,
you just used, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is the waste yarn only used for this particular type of cast on, the tubular, or can you use it for other cast ons?
So the waste yarn can be used most commonly for like for a provisional cast on. That would really be the only other time I can think of to use waste yarn. And a provisional cast on is for when you are wanting to hold the stitches live because you're going to go back to it later. For example, if you're going to seam two pieces or seam the piece together, like a cowl or so, you would go back to those live stitches, unpick the scrap yarn, and then do something with those stitches again.
Yeah, put them back on a needle and do
Yeah.
something. Josie, does this work only for 1x1 ribbing, or will this tubular cast on work for maybe 2x2 or something different?
So it's a different method for 2x2 ribbing. This is just for 1x1.
Okay.
Yeah. It gets a little more involved with 2x2 ribbing. It's a different cast on method, and you don't use scrap yarn for that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really fascinating, and it can be confusing. So yes.
Okay. Enough said.
Yeah, we can do that in another knit along. We can do the 2x2 and another tubular cast on in another knit along, because it is a different technique. Okay, let's see. I just knitted that one. Okay, so we're coming to at least the end for me, the last two stitches, and I'm just going to try to tighten up my scrap yarn because so we can see these stitches better. Let's see. Okay, so I'm at the last two stitches, and then we will, oh wait, let me finish this sequence. I'll do the make one. Okay, so you want to do that make one as well. Then you've got your last 2 stitches. And you're going to knit one. Insert, oops, front to back on that last lateral thread. And then she says to knit, or excuse me, purl this running thread plus the last stitch. So we're going to purl those together. And I think that is just basically what helps us get to our final number of stitches required for the 1x1 rib. So you're going to have either 108 or 120 stitches. Okay, so those stitches just doubled.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Everybody's got that. We're going to turn on the cameras and you all demonstrate it
Well,
for us.
check your work. No, no, we won't.
I'm kidding.
No.
Okay, so we'll take a little breath. That was the hardest row. And next we're going to, this next part is where we're going to join in the round. I went ahead and did mine on this straight needle, and I, let's see, let me, where is mine? I'm going to just transfer them onto, you know what, I'll just use double points.
You are the double point queen.
You can use whatever method at this point you'd like to knit your, knit in the round magic loop, or actually you'll probably want to use your 16-inch circular.
But you don't have to do this on a straight needle, do you? I mean, you can do it on your circular.
You can do it on your, absolutely.
Okay.
You can do it on your circular needle. All right. Yeah, which is what I should have done, but that's okay.
No, it
Okay.
made it really nice to watch you demonstrate it. I think it was
Yeah, just on a straight needle. So I'm going to go ahead and just because I don't have I don't have my circular needle that I want to use for this. So I'm just going to go ahead and, what should I do? Let's see. Maybe I have my other, no, I'm going to transfer. I'm going to just go for it. This is live, guys. I'm going to transfer these stitches to my double points. If you have, hopefully you were on your circular needle, you would just stop right there. You're one step ahead of me, and you're just going to join in the round at this point. You can place a marker for your beginning of round, but I usually just use the tail as my marker and know that that's the beginning of the round. As you knit further up, you might want to include your beginning of round, but it just sort of bugs me right at the beginning to have that beginning of round when, you've just got your tail right there. You can tell where I was tight doing my tension really changed for that bit where I did the continental. I'm just going to even out my stitches a little bit on my needles.
Check, let's see. Alexis, let's see, you don't have, yeah, Magic Loop is great. Magic Loop is great. I'm trying to see if I even carry oh, I do have size 4, 16 inches. I do have a couple pair or a couple sets of those left. Yeah, so you can hop onto the website. Yes, you can use 16-inch circular needles. Absolutely. You don't have to use the Magic Loop. Yes, I do sell fixed circulars, Carla. I'm low on a lot of them right now, but there is an order coming in, you know, any day now.
No worries. My bonus is a few months out, but I'll keep that in mind.
Okay.
I've got enough to get through this. Actually, that's why I asked about the 1x1s. I'm really excited to try this on another hat that calls for 1x1 rib because the results are just amazing. Like I say, it's magic.
I know. It just looks so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone, while you're working away, I'm going to go ahead and join. We're in, I'm going to begin row 1, so we will join, and this is where we begin working in the round. Since most of you probably are going to use your 16-inch circulars or Magic Loop, I've got my double points. I'm going to make sure that all of my, stitches are lined up and not twisted before we join. And when we join, we remember that our working yarn is going to come feed off the left side. So I'm going to go ahead and join. The first stitch is a slip one with yarn and back, so that's how I'm going to join the first stitch. Okay, yarn back. There's my tail. That's going to be the beginning of the round. So slip one with yarn and back. We're just simply going to slip purlwise. Now we're going to bring the yarn to the front between the needles. And then purl one. And then yarn back, slip one, yarn forward and purl.
So what you're doing is you're working the stitches that weren't worked on the previous row. Is that correct?
That's it. So you start working this and you'll begin to see, you're slipping the ones you're not working and then working the ones that you're doing the opposite of what you did in the first row, right? So yarn back, slip, yarn forward and purl. So the ones that you're slipping on this round are going to be your knitted stitches. And then you're bringing yarn forward to purl. These are your purl stitches. So you'll sort of see that you're starting to create your knit one, purl one rib. you're only working, this is why we have so many rows to do, because you are slipping stitches and working every other one in each alternate row. Oh wait, I didn't purl that one. See, I gotta stop talking and just work because there we go.
I know, I can't talk and knit at the same time. I just can't do it. I go to knitting circles and it's just like, unless it's just plain stockinette, I mean, I have to do just one or the other.
Exactly. That is me too.
I have a one channel brain. And some days that channel comes in a little fuzzy.
Oh yeah. Everybody doing okay?
We'll see. We'll see.
You're following along, Barbara, as we go?
I'm trying.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
if you have any questions, be sure and
just
pop up.
really feel free to chit chat, ask away.
I'm just slow.
Yeah, let's take it slow. I am too. I am definitely a slow knitter for sure. Oh wait, I have to see. Even my brain. I usually try to get a rhythm in my brain.
All it takes is a fraction of a second's glitch, and then you're off on the wrong.
Yep.
Is there anybody here that's on the East Coast?
Yes.
Oh, Ursula. Oh, New York, Alexis, that's right. I always forget where everybody's from.
We're North Carolina.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Is it raining in New York or on the East Coast today?
Well, it's off and on in North Carolina.
Ah.
Sometimes quite a downpour.
Ah, nice.
I'm in Maine and it's been sunny and exceptionally warm, like in the 80s, which is very unlike, you know, from middle of May for it to be this warm, but we're enjoying it.
Oh, how beautiful. Yeah. Gosh. Yeah, we're having a beautiful day too. We had an insanely hot day yesterday, like it was crazy. It was like 85 or some crazy number that we don't even ever have in the, you know, in August. We don't get that hot. It was just really weird.
Lucky you.
I know, I guess, sort of, except none of our houses are at least built with, you know, I'm so close to the ocean that there's no air conditioning. So
Right.
once the house heats up, it's a little harder to get cooled off.
Our past week has been in the 90s, 94, 95.
Wow.
That's unusual for May for us.
Yeah, yeah.
It's miserable.
Miserable. You get so humid there though in Kansas City.
Yes, it was very humid too.
Wait,
Yeah.
no, you're not in Kansas City. You're in Topeka? Wait.
I'm in Topeka.
Topeka, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Low 70s. 86, see, Carla, it's a heat wave. It's weird.
Well, today, well, we've had awful wind lately. The wind has been ridiculous.
Wow.
But today we've got a nice breeze for a change.
That's lovely. Very, very lovely.
Okay.
So the first 2 rows are where the magic happens.
Yep. Okay, so let's see. I've gotten to the end and it confused my brain a little bit because I was ending on a purl 1 and I thought, wait, that's not right, but it is right. So you're going to end with a purl 1 and then yarn and back. Okay. Okay, it's starting to happen here. The magic.
Okay.
So that's all it is for row 1, joining in the round.
Really?
Row 2. This is row 2.
So now, yeah, actually I should say round. It is more accurate to say round. Round 2. So now round 2. So you can see, if you just sort of look at what's going on with your knitting, I mean, you can just see the knit 1, purl 1 already starting to be established. And by slipping these stitches, there's a little sort of invisible tube happening in between. And that's why it's a tubular cast on. Anyway, we're going to keep going. So round 2, we're going to do something similar, but it's going to be the opposite of the stitches that you worked in the previous round. So, okay, so we're going to knit 1. Now we're working those knit stitches where in the previous round we were slipping them. So we're going to knit 1, bring yarn to the front, slip that purl stitch, yarn back, and knit. Yarn forward and slip that purl stitch, yarn back, and knit. Alexis, do you need me to do it in continental? Okay.
Nope, she says she's good.
Oh, okay. Phew. Thanks, Alexis. Let me off the hook there. It's fine. I can do it. Okay, so let's see. Where was I? Knit 1. Okay, yarn forward and slip, purl, yarn back and knit.
Are you trying to say something, Vicki? You're muted.
Why am I muted? I don't.
Oh, there you go. Now I just heard you there. Yeah, now you're unmuted.
Okay. No, I had something on my screen and I was wondering why it was there. It was saying, ask the host if you want to record.
If you want to what?
If you want to record. And I didn't want to record, so I don't know why it was on there.
Oh, okay. Who knows? Technology.
I know. Zoom kind of freaks out once in a while. Who knows? We get weird messages once in a while. Okay, so let's see.
Okay.
on that last row that she was doing.
Yes.
When you slip one with the yarn in the back, and it says bring it to the front and purl one, but when you're slipping that one, were you slipping it purlwise or knitwise?
I think she knit it
Purlwise.
purlwise. I mean, she slipped it purlwise.
Yeah, always
Right.
purlwise.
Whenever you
Unless the
slip
pattern-
one, it's purlwise. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
sure. That's the general rule. Whenever a pattern says to slip, if it doesn't say anything specific, just slip it purlwise.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So let's see, where am I? This is knit one. Oh no, line forward.
How does everyone feel about not cable, but charts? What's everybody's?
Let's ask Carla.
Carla?
Still with us.
Alexis loves chart. Oh, Carla does.
Carla already went and transcribed the chart into written instructions and had Josie review them, which, hint, hint, is a wonderful use of the KnitChats Slack channel.
Oh, yes, yes.
I
Scared
don't
of
like
them.
them.
Oh, you don't
I
like them
don't like-
either?
No.
I'm curious why people don't like them. What's the reason?
I get confused.
My
Uh-huh.
mind
They confuse me. I could follow written a lot easier.
Yeah, I think it depends. Yeah, Alexis, I should take a class. I think it just depends on how your mind works. I mean, I'm a writer by trade. It's what I do. So symbols drive me crazy. I can read much more quickly than I can transcribe a symbol in my head.
Okay. That
But
makes sense.
Yeah, but I can see where taking a class would be beneficial. A chart
Yeah.
class would. And this, in all fairness, Josie was right when I asked her about it. It's one of the easiest charts I've ever seen. But at the same time, you have to think about, I'd ask her like, okay, since we're working on the round, I know you start at the bottom, but you read from right to left and then left to right. You know, there's just all these tricks that, again, patterns assume you know. Right. So that's why taking a class might be helpful. She said, no, you read it this way. Okay.
Yeah, you have to know if it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or if it's a 1, 3, 5, 7.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. And sometimes the patterns say on odd rows, purl every odd row, and then you know that you only follow the chart.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's always different. So that's why I just avoid them entirely. Or because this one was so small, I just went ahead and translated it.
Right.
Yeah, and Alexis mentions the class. Yeah, absolutely. And Carla, by going through that exercise, because I was with you guys, I used to only do written. And then my brain just sort of adjusted. The more I'd write it out, and then I'd be like, okay, it got to a point where I didn't want to write things out anymore, and I'm just forcing myself to look at the chart, and then my brain picked it up. And when we get to that, I mean, I can, maybe I'll have a tip or two. But Carla, one of these days, I think you're on your way.
Well, we'll get there. But that's one of the reasons I wanted to see the cast on, and I wanted to see how you handle the chart.
Yeah.
Because I'm hoping to get to the lace in the next day or two.
Oh,
A long
yeah. Oh,
interview.
and it's already 1:07. Well, ladies, we're gonna keep going. I'm good if you're good. Okay. So the end of round 2 was to slip one with the yarn in front and then bring the yarn to the back. So I've done that, and we'll bring the yarn to the back. Okay, so now we'll move on to round 3, which was basically a repeat of row 1. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So that was, oh yeah, slip one with yarn in back. Okay, right, so we're just going to repeat what we did in round 1. And then purl. And this is, to me, where I can see sort of that there's a space or a gap between these rounds, and that's what's see that little, I don't know if you guys can see that, but see what we're creating is this sort of tube. So you feel that space in between the rounds. Anyway, that's what's creating this tube. Okay, so slip.
And it makes such a delicious fabric.
It does.
The hand is just really lovely.
Okay, we're slipping this.
So it's really a form of double knitting, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. Thank you for mentioning that. That's it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, Candy, I should mention that I think you wanted some denim, and I ordered some denim, and I think, let me check, I think it's coming in on Monday.
Oh, good.
Yeah, let me
look. Pamela?
Yes.
I ordered some needles from you.
Mm-hmm.
I ordered one set. I got 2. They were stuck together.
Oh, okay.
Can I put those in an envelope and send them back to you?
You can, or it was our mistake. You can, it's up to you. Really, truly. It was, I mean, when it's our mistake, then
Well, I don't need 2 of them. I only need 1.
I tell you what, Barbara, I will put together a little label so that you don't have to pay for the postage. How about that? I'll send you a little.
Okay, whatever works for you.
Okay. All right.
But I didn't, I know that could make your inventory off, and I know how that can be.
Yeah. We have one too many. We have one too many now in the inventory.
Or we don't have enough. So I just wanted to be sure. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll send you a label.
All right, thank you.
And Candy, yes, Monday it will be in, and probably, and I just found out my daughter is the one she's my warehouse and my shipping department, and she just called me. I just found out a little while before we went on that she's got COVID.
Oh,
so
no.
I can't guarantee how fast she'll be at getting everything done, but just know, Candy, that it is coming in on Monday, and just as soon as it's processed, I'll shoot you an email.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
We wish her a speedy recovery.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. She, she works from home, obviously, and she doesn't just work for me. She works part-time for me, and also does other freelancing work on her own, and rarely goes anywhere like those of us who, work from home often don't go a lot of places. And she said she went one place, and I didn't ask her what that one place was, but she said she went out once and she got it. So, I mean, she's managed to stay COVID free this whole time, but
I have never stayed home. I have gone and gone and gone,
Right.
Knock on wood here. So far, so good.
Wow. Good for you. Good for you.
Okay, so I've just finished that round number 3. So this is your total of 5 rounds worked. And the pattern suggests that we can remove the waste yarn. I like to keep it in there for a little while longer, and even, you know, up until the end, which is what I would personally do and what I might recommend. Just because it just kind of holds your stitches in place, and as you work your project, you know, it'll just keep it nice and tidy.
And they won't kind of stretch out.
And they won't stretch out as you work your piece. I mean, at some point we will release these and they'll be beautiful, but as you're working your hat, it's, I don't know, it's just a preference. I like to keep mine in. So those are the rounds for your tubular cast on. So why don't I go ahead, let's just use my real sample, and I'll show you how to sort of unpick that scrap yarn. And let's see how it comes out.
You know, this is the perfect hat for those of us who live here in Southern California, for among other places. But, you know, it's the perfect lightweight topper.
Yes. So I'm just going to go ahead and unpick this, and we'll go nice and slow because this is a fuzzy yarn. And I don't want to distort the stitches too much by tugging and pulling too much. So I'm just going to pick away at it. I might snip at certain intervals here too, but being very careful not to snip the yarn. So, you know, I'll just snip some of these so that I'm not wearing the yarn out too much by dragging long strands across. So, you know, as I think about it, because I think we were talking about provisional cast on earlier, and you could use probably a crochet provisional cast on, because the crochet provisional cast on makes it easier to kind of unzip the waste yarn. This way you're just, you know, having to pick it out. But that's okay.
So Alexis, you were wondering what it would look like in gradient mini skeins.
Oh, I think gorgeous.
Yeah.
This calls for, so this fuzzy yarn, while it's real thin, I mean, it knits up like a worsted weight, which is, you know, why, I don't know, Carla ordered a cotton yarn, which I was curious to see how that worked, how that looked.
I'm curious too. Well, first of all, I rarely work in cotton, and because it has no give, the tension is tricky.
Yes.
So my tension isn't as beautiful on this as it is with yarn that has a little more give.
Right.
So we'll see. And then when I get closer, I have questions. I don't know how to block a cotton yarn hat, but you know, that's
right. Wanted to mention too, Carla, because if you're in our KnitChats community, Liz, in fact, addressed this issue. If you have like a cotton hat, for example, and you want to, you know, cotton tends to grow, you can run an elastic thread through the bands.
Right.
Right? You remember, yes, Carla.
I've done that because I have a small head, so I have a couple of my own hats that were not easy to size down, so I just do the elastic thread trick.
Right. Oh, good.
At what point do you put it at the very bottom of the brim, or do you put it?
I put it at the bottom.
Yeah, you can put it at the bottom. You can even run a few strands, you know, like do a round or two. And it'll work great. All right, so I've picked out a little bit. I'll continue to pick out pick this out later, but just wanted you to see this very pretty edge, although I don't think you can see it too much on my fuzzy yarn, but yeah, it's kind of washing out on the white background, but
I don't know if you could see mine, if I hold it up or not.
yeah, should we pin? Can we pin you, Carla? And let's just check it out. Anyway, ladies, so that's it. That's the rounded edge.
Okay, you're pinned, so Carla.
Where are we?
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
There's the other side.
It feels lovely, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, that's great, Carla. I love that color.
Well, one of the things I did wrong is just, so I took it out as I used a very thick yarn for the cast on, and I realized it's going to stretch the stitches. So I pulled it out pretty quickly. So I've gotten is it will shrink a little bit, so I'll be able to. No, it's already starting to relax. It looks much better than it did a couple days ago.
Wow, excellent, excellent.
Okay, ladies, just wanted to move on briefly and talk about the chart, since I know some of you are uncomfortable with charts. So Barbara laughs. Okay, so super uncomfortable with charts. Well, I hate to break it to you, but there are no written instructions for the lace part, ladies. So we're going to stretch you a little bit here. You're going to have to follow the chart. You can bribe Carla. She might be able to send you the written if you really need the written, but I would gently urge you to try the chart because it is pretty simple. So, okay, so charts. This is easy. I'm saying this is an easy chart because we're knitting in the round, and all you have to do is remember to read your chart from right to left, right to left, right to left for each round. If you're knitting flat, then you do read right to left and then left to right. But anyway, so this is in the round, so all you have to remember is we're reading right to left. This whole chart here is a 12-stitch repeat. It fits very nicely into the stitch counts in our pattern. If you're doing the smaller size, you'll be doing this repeat across 6 times, I believe. Yeah, no, excuse me, 9 times. If you're doing the larger size, you'll repeat the 12 stitches all the way around 10 times. And I think it's easy. You start at the bottom and work your way up. This is a 6-round repeat, so you're, to complete one full pattern stitch repeat, you'll do these 12 stitches around and 6 rows or 6 rounds of it. I like to put, get a plain piece of paper or a post-it note and keep track of your rounds by placing the card above each line that you're doing, just like that. And when you're done with the one round, then you can move up and you continue to move up to help you keep track. And basically, I think once you get started with it, just start with each box. You'll see the legend here and you'll just follow it. And if you don't want to keep moving your eyes down, just go ahead and make a little pencil in a little note that says, okay, this symbol is a K2 together. And that way you just, you're just reading the chart one square at a time, one stitch at a time, one round at a time, and moving your way what else can I say about a chart? So once your brain just starts registering chart reading, you'll begin to see that all it is just a visual representation of your knitting. So, you know, I don't have a swatch with me, but you'll just start seeing the beautiful motifs, you know, reflected in your knitting. So once you get these rounds going, you'll look at your chart and you'll say, okay, I see what's happening. I see that. You'll see the yarn overs and you'll see the knit two togethers. Anyway, I would hope that you give this a try. I mean, I think you really have no choice in the matter unless, like I said, you bribe Carla, who wrote it all out. And actually, ladies, if you get frustrated anytime whatsoever with the chart, give me. I'm going to put my email in the chat. It's just josie@knitchats.com, and just email me, and we'll get some written instructions out to you.
There you go.
So I'll bribe Carla for those instructions.
That's fine. You can
There
talk.
we go. Okay. Yeah, so I think that's all I have to say about the chart. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, I think. It's pretty easy. It's as easy as charts get. Does anyone have any questions?
Josie, have you gotten into the lace part on one of your hats? Can you show us, please?
I have not, unfortunately. Okay. Let me get back to my real camera here.
Okay.
And I'm so sorry. I have put away these samples and I couldn't find them. I looked for them. I had 6 or so knit up.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And
no, Pamela, you
can't believe them.
You can post them on Instagram or post them on the KnitChats Slack channel.
I mean, they're all in the product. I can give you the link to the.
Got it.
And, you know, ladies, once you, I'm sorry, you know what? I think everybody here. Okay. I was looking around on Ravelry. So once you master this lace, it's so pretty. It's such an elegant, beautiful, really simple lace once you get going on it. And there is a matching scarf. I don't know if anyone's bothered to look, but Pamela, I meant to mention this to you as well, because let's see if I can find it, and I'd love to share it. There we go. Okay.
And I just stuck a screenshot of the pink one so you can pull it up and really see the stitch definition. And this one has the tubular cast on. And the lace pattern, I'm just charmed by it. I knit this probably a couple of years ago, and my love for it, I look at it again, it's just lovely.
It's lovely. Do you mind, Pamela, if I just share screen on this? It's the Slyngrose.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Scarf, and it's on Ravelry by the same designer, Susie Hausmann, and she has a scarf pattern. So I'm going to share that so you can all see that, and it would be so easy.
Oh, wow.
Once you have that lace pattern down, you just use the same chart, and look how beautiful that is.
Oh my gosh.
Just pretty.
Oh, I've got some yarn in the shop right now.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
Isn't it just?
That's stunning.
I think so too. Anyway, I hope that is inspiring. If you want more of the Slyngrose lace, that's an option.
Is that a purchased pattern?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a Danish designer.
Yeah, it's
that
about
explains-
650.
that explains the English, the sort of English and the pattern.
Yeah, the translation, it wasn't.
Translation's a little, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but
You're right. I caught a few little things.
I write for a living, so I'm pickier than most, but it doesn't matter. You can figure it out, and the pattern is gorgeous.
So did we get all? Yes, Alexis. Yep, agreed. All these are gorgeous. Ooh, an infinity scarf would be pretty.
Can we use the same yarn that we're using for the hat as you would for the scarf? Could you use the same?
you could, but I don't know. Well, I should let you answer, Josie.
Oh, I think any yarn really will work. It should be soft because it's near your neck. I just think it's a beautiful lace pattern.
I don't know if I'd use cotton because it would really stretch as a scarf.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's why we'll see how this hat, plays out over time. Knitting to cotton.
Sometimes you can get some cotton with just a tiny bit of polyamide in it. And,
yes, that's nice.
And that keeps it,
Yeah, but this is beautiful yarn, by the way, Cal. It's very nice. And against your skin, it's going to be lovely.
Yeah, it's going to look really nice. Well, Josie, thank you so much. That was a lot of teaching that you gave us. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, gosh, you're most welcome. It was fun, and I hope you guys give this tubular cast on a go. I think we're all doing it, right?
Yeah.
We're all going to do it.
Are there any questions just at the end? Just anything lingering? And of course, oh, you're so welcome, Carla. If you have any questions, email either one of us. We will get the recording out there for you ladies and send it. We'll probably do a send to the email list, the knit along email list, so that anyone who's signed up for that email list will get the notice of the YouTube.
You might find me signed up twice.
Oh, okay. I'll double check to make sure you're all good in there.
Because I lost all my information, and so I just signed up again so I could find it.
Oh, okay, got it.
Pamela, I was just thinking that when you pinned Josie at the last part where she was going over the chart, it was just so much clearer and more visible. Was that because you had pinned it?
No, I didn't pin Josie.
Oh.
No. Because because I could see everything much. It was like the camera was like really up close and I could see everything in a much clearer way than when she was first showing us the stitches. So I don't know what happened there.
Ursula, Zoom, we are honestly trying to, I'm still learning new things about Zoom every day. And so when Pamela pinned, because right now on my screen, I see the gallery and I've pinned Pamela and I for recording purposes. And as well, I see, whoever's video is showing here. So I'm curious to see how Zoom will record it. It's a little weird. I've changed some settings, but I think it depends on what you set your individual screen as. So if you click on speaker view, is that what you think, Pamela? I think
that's what I was going to say. Up in the top right-hand corner of your screen, Ursula, it will say view. And if you click on view and you click on speaker, then all you'll see is Josie.
Whoever's speaking. But I believe you can also pin your screen so that you can pin and have the larger screen pinned based on, when you make that adjustment on your screen. I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Because I'm not sure what happened because I didn't pin or change anything on with Josie. The only person that I pinned was Carla, or spotlighted was Carla. So I'm not sure how
that.
Well, anyway, thank you for explaining that. I appreciate you answering all my questions. Thank you again.
It's our pleasure. It's
Thank
our
you
pleasure.
so much, everybody. It was so great to see this turnout. Yay. Okay. So, oh, and Pamela, I think one more thing, at least for me. I would love to see your hats when they're finished. Again, no pressure. This is a totally casual knit along. Send them to me by email. If you're on Instagram or Facebook, post it. The hashtag will be, let's do the hashtag. I think, let's make this the hashtag, Pamela. Slyngrose Hat KAL. Slyngrose Hat KAL. Let's do that.
All righty.
And that's where I get to see them. We get to see them, and we'll, repost them on social if you are on social media. If not, no biggie. Just send them to me by email or Pamela by email. We just love to see them. See all your projects. Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us today, ladies. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And
happy knitting.
Happy knitting.
All right, everybody, take good care.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye.